to all of you a very warm welcome. I'm Sashi Nair, I work for the Press Institute of India, and standing beside me is Shugato Roy, who is the Communications Chief at UNICEF, Tamil Nadu and Kerala. Over the past few years, UNICEF and the Press Institute of India have focused on sensitizing journalists, working journalists, freelance journalists, and also journalism students, have focused on sensitizing them on issues relating to children, on child rights. The canvas is so huge, I don't want to get into that, but basically the focus is on sensitizing them on how to report better. The whole objective has really been to equip them with skills and with knowledge so that they can produce better stories, better reports. Reports with far more perspective find in newspapers and in other news media. To some extent, we've been successful. We visited newspaper offices, the UNICEF team and ourselves. We visited colleges. We've even visited a school. We've had seminars and workshops at Press Institute of India. This year, however, we thought we'll try and do this a little different. We thought we would try and raise the level of awareness, try and do a sort of a discussion which is lively, which is not the usual straight-jacketed lecture sort of a thing, on subjects on the child rights canvas. And some of these have been chosen, and this will happen starting today over the next 4 or 5 months. Now the challenge was in finding someone who would moderate the discussion, who would handle the subjects well, who had some interest in the subject, who would curate it. But we didn't take long to find the person we wanted. And so we zeroed in on Mr. AVIS Viswanathan. AVIS, of course, to those of you, I think all of you are young here, but you might not know, but AVIS is a former journalist. He's been a newspaper columnist. He's recently achieved the status of an author. He's a motivational speaker. And more than anything else, what I liked about him, he always says he's a student of life. Probably he'll tell you a few words about that. So AVIS, starting today, will really shepherd the equity talks as we go along. Now, it's not just about discussing and moderating. When you're doing this sort of a thing and the subjects are pertinent, as they are, you need to do a lot of research. Get to brass tacks, find out what is important, what is current, what is topical. And helping him to do that is his wife, Vaani Anand. Vaani? So, thank you also for readily agreeing to be a part of this. And AVIS and Vaani together will host this as we go along. I don't know how many of you read newspapers, but even if you don't and you check on your mobile phones, in today's Times of India, there were 2 reports that I spotted. One was about children. 85 million children in India do not go to school. 7.8 million children go to school, but they also have to work. That was one story on page 1. And there was another story on page 2, which talked about how the POXO Act hasn't been effective simply because, or maybe one of the reasons being, that even the police force or people who matter in government or in administration do not even know some of the laws. So this is reality. Incidentally, this is Nutrition Week. First week of September, but okay, it's I think it's one of the subjects that's been talked about. And we thought we'll start this series with the one on malnutrition. And before AVIS takes the floor, we'll have a 2-minute film by UNICEF on malnutrition, which I think will set the tone. Thank you all very much, and I hope you will interact. AVIS will, of course, lay the ground rules later. Thank you.
लेकिन कैसे आगे बढ़ेगा जब इस देश का लगभग हर दूसरा बच्चा कुपोषण का शिकार है। कुपोषण यानी सही पोषण की कमी। गर्भ से लेकर जन्म के पहले 2 साल बच्चों में इसका सबसे ज्यादा खतरा होता है। कुपोषण बच्चों के शरीर और दिमाग दोनों को ही जिंदगी भर के लिए कमजोर बना देता है। और जब बच्चे ही मजबूत नहीं होंगे तो देश कैसे मजबूत होगा। तो आइए मिलकर इस खतरनाक दुश्मन के खिलाफ एक जंग छेड़ें।
सुमन,
पढ़ते हुए बच्चे कितने अच्छे लगते हैं, और क्यों ना लगे। जब ये पढ़ेंगे तभी तो देश आगे बढ़ेगा। लेकिन कैसे आगे बढ़ेगा जब इस देश का लगभग हर दूसरा बच्चा कुपोषण का शिकार है। कुपोषण यानी सही पोषण की कमी। गर्भ से लेकर जन्म के पहले 2 साल बच्चों में इसका सबसे ज्यादा खतरा होता है। कुपोषण बच्चों के शरीर और दिमाग दोनों को ही जिंदगी भर के लिए कमजोर बना देता है। और जब बच्चे ही मजबूत नहीं होंगे तो देश कैसे मजबूत होगा। तो आइए मिलकर इस खतरनाक दुश्मन के खिलाफ एक जंग छेड़ें।
अरे सुमन, क्या किया स्कूल में आज?
हमने बहुत मजा किया, बहुत मजा किया। तू क्यों नहीं आई?
आज पूरी क्लास चिड़ियाघर भी गई थी
और हमने वहाँ ना हुक्कू बंदर देखा था। वो हुक्कू हुक्कू करता था।
हुक्कू नहीं, हुक्कू हुक्कू
पापा, मैं बार बार क्यों बीमार पड़ती हूँ? मैं सबके साथ स्कूल कब जाऊंगी पापा?
सब ठीक हो जाएगा, थोड़ा सा बुखार ही तो है।
बच्चे का बार बार बीमार पड़ना, जल्दी थक जाना या देर से समझ आना, ये सब कुपोषण के लक्षण हो सकते हैं। कुपोषण यानी सही पोषण का ना मिलना। गर्भ से लेके जन्म के पहले 2 साल बच्चे में इसका सबसे ज्यादा खतरा होता है। आज देश का लगभग हर दूसरा बच्चा कुपोषण का शिकार है, यानी शरीर और दिमाग से कमजोर। तो आइए मिलकर कुपोषण के खिलाफ एक जंग छेड़ दें। से खदेड़ना है दुश्मन को बाहर, ताकि हमारे देश का भविष्य, हमारे बच्चों का भविष्य मजबूत हो सके। तो आइए मिलकर कुपोषण के खिलाफ एक जंग छेड़ दें।
We will try and keep this program within 90 minutes. We'll close it around 4:30. Okay? How many of you here are here because unme solano? Okay? Sachi baat, dil ki baat. How many of you are here because you've been forced to be here? My hand goes up. Yeah, I can see one. So is she the only honest person in this room? All are honest? You want to be here. Now, either way, whether you are here because you're being forced to be here or you're here because you want to be here, don't you think the most sensible thing to do would be to make it count, to make it valuable, to make it useful? So I believe in democracy. Though Indian democracy doesn't work at times, it's still a great country and it's still a great instrument. So I believe in democracy. This time I think more hands will go up. How many of you have Twitter accounts? Yeah, so I see, thankfully, okay? So, total democracy. In this program, you can use your mobile phones, okay? And you can keep them on silent mode though, and use them to tweet to us, okay? My Twitter handle is at AVIS, A-V-I-S, AVIS Viswanathan, like MS Viswanathan, V-I-S-W-A-N-A-T-H-A-N. That's one handle you can tweet to. Add to it at UNICEF India. UNICEF spelling is there, India spelling you know. And the third one is a beautiful Twitter handle. It's called chill at chill. Okay? You tell your parents, right? Take a chill pill, right? My kids do that to me. So at chill Sugata, S-U-G-A-T-A. Look at this man, okay? He's the most rocking man in the UNICEF system. So that's why they call him at chill Sugata. So you're free to tweet to him. Now what will you tweet about? You're free to tweet, Semma bor machan. Okay? No problem. You're free to tweet what you learned. You're free to tweet feedback. Okay? And tweet as the session is going on, but please hashtag it. Hashtag Equity Talks. Hashtag UNICEF India. Okay? Now what happens with all these tweets? I'm going to go back home. I can't obviously check my tweet. I don't have an assistant, somebody sitting there tracking all these hashtags. So I'm going to go back home. And when I sit at my desk, I'm going to tweet back to you and talk about the most interesting tweet we received this afternoon. Are you with me, everybody? There is a second incentive for making this count. And the second incentive comes with a set of questions. Okay? First question, how many of you have applied to be born in this universe? How many of you applied saying, I want to be born, I want to be born to my parents, I want to be born in this religion, I want to be born in this country, in this background? So do we apply to be born? Right? We don't apply to be born, and we think the reason for our creation, the reason why we are created human beings, okay? And look at this beautiful miracle. We are created as human beings that can receive the swine flu. Okay? We are not created as the swine that gives out the flu. So there must be a bigger reason why we are created human. That's the point I'm trying to make. Are you with me, everybody? Examine that reason with this research data I'm giving you. The human mind thinks 60,000 thoughts a day. Research, proven data. 60,000 thoughts occur to the human mind in a day. How many of those thoughts really talk about other people? Really talk about a subject like child rights? Really talk about a subject like malnutrition? We don't. In our everyday life, sarasara வாழ்க்கையில உங்களுடைய வாழ்க்கையில படிப்பு, studies I hope, maybe not in this order, okay? Studies, relationships, career, making money, films, and friends, family, worries, insecurities, all these occupy the 60,000 thoughts. But we never look beyond our circle of influence, our zones. So I'm inviting you, my dear friends, engage with us in the conversation. A conversation is going to happen here on this subject of malnutrition. If you didn't know about it or didn't think about it, here's your chance to bring it into your conscience and ask us questions. At the end of the 45-minute conversation that I'll have with an eminent panel that I'm going to introduce to you, we're going to invite questions from you. And you know what's the biggest reward for the best question of the afternoon? Any guesses? Any guesses? Do you need a reward? But I'll still give you. I can give you a hug. You can take a selfie with me and you can tweet it to me. Deal, everyone? Are you with me? Can we do this? So please stay engaged and ask questions of the panel at the end of it. Okay? If you might think, and I'm possibly the oldest looking person in this panel, the people that are going to come are much, much younger than I am. And you might think, what are these people going to talk about? And what am I going to, I've got locked into this place for the next 1 hour. So let's make it meaningful. Let's rock. Are you all ready? You stay engaged with us, you keep tweeting, you ask the questions, you get this selfie at the end of the day, and you get to learn a lot. Okay? So here we are, and I have now the great opportunity to introduce 3 people that I met this afternoon before coming here. And they are 3 wonderful people, and not necessarily in any order, but probably in the order in which I have their names here, I'm going to introduce them. They are people that I've already learned a lot from. They bring to the table enormous experience in the field of child rights, in the field of malnutrition and nutrition, in the field of social development, a field that requires all our attention and hopefully action. So what we have collectively discussed between the 4 of us is that if we can leave even one of you thinking tonight, if we can make even one of you think that you can create value, you can act, you can contribute to the cause that we are going to discuss today, we would have made this discussion meaningful. Which is why we called this the Equity Talks. How many of you have seen the film Pink? People don't watch films in Loyola or what? Now what does Pink deal with? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It talks about, do you agree, gentlemen, with what she said? Or did you have another additional point to it? You agree with her. It talks about the inequity in our social structure where a girl is expected to behave very differently from a guy, and a girl has more privileges. Assuming that a girl has more privileges, the guys want to take away the privileges. It deals with a whole lot of nonsense that society has come up with, social norms have come up with. Equity really means trying to restore that balance, trying to bring about that equality. And unless we talk about it in our immediate circles of influence, we cannot restore that equity. So what UNICEF do is to bring the conversation to the mainstream, and to start than with exciting students like you. So if Pink dealt with gender issues, here we are talking about child rights. And we're talking about, and you'll discover some amazing stuff that's going to come up. Okay? Let me give you like a top line of that. What it really means for you to be engaged with us and ask us the questions at the end of the session. As we speak in India, every day, 3,000 children die of malnutrition. These are children below the age of 5. Okay? Give or take a few numbers here and there. It's somewhere in the region of 3,000 children dying every day because they're malnourished and they're under the age of 5 and there is nobody to care for them. And another shocking statistic, data that I picked up, which should give you the top line of this, is it takes only 16 rupees, 16 rupees, for a child to receive the right nutrients in that same age group of 0 to 5 per day. So can you imagine how much power we have as privileged individuals to be able to make that difference? So to make the difference or not, to take action or not, is going to be left to you. But stay engaged with us as we go along. Okay? So let me come back to my task of introducing the people. I had the pleasure of meeting a wonderful lady, Dr. Subadra Seshadri, who has with her over 50 years of experience, ma'am. I mean, I'm so amazed with the body of work you have in the field of nutrition. She has taught at the MS University in Baroda. She has been associated with every Indian institution associated with the subject of nutritional science. She's contributed in governmental projects, in non-governmental projects, lives in Bangalore right now, and you even authored a book, right? So please welcome Subhadra Seshadri. Please, ma'am, can you join us? She's dealt with you, or you'll join everyone at the end? Okay, fine. Okay. So we have with us, the second guest is a very young man who loves young people, who says his biggest inspiration is to share what he's learned from his life and learn, which means a lot of unlearning must happen, keep learning from the young people around him. So he readily accepted this invitation because he believed that he's going to learn a few things from you, okay, while sharing what he has learned, and that's D.K.Bose. He's an advertising industry guru, if I may say so, okay. He's worked with JWT, he's worked with R.K. Swamy BBDO, he's worked with Ogilvy. He was the man who set up India's first social outreach agency, where he worked exclusively on the rural marketing and communications campaigns. He's a communication specialist. But what I learned from him today is that there is no point in being a communication specialist if you cannot bring about behavioral change. So his key focus is, can thought impact behavior? Can behavior impact result? Am I saying it right, sir? Would I be right? So DK brings a whole lot of experience, again, almost 50 years of experience behind him in this field, of which more than 25 years have been not in air-conditioned rooms, plotting strategies, but on the field, pounding the pavement, going to Indian villages, and working with the rural population in bringing about change. His special focus areas have been child health and women health and women empowerment. So I see a lot of ladies in this crowd, and I'm sure you'll be very proud to see what thoughts he's got on the whole aspect of malnutrition, but starting with the woman and not necessarily going to the child before you have addressed the needs of the woman. And of course, we have our host for this evening, which is Job Zachariah. Job is the chief of UNICEF in Tamil Nadu and Kerala. Man with immense knowledge, immense energy, and I think he looks like a cricketer. I would not be surprised if he says he played cricket at some point in his life. Okay, he looks like a sportsman, so he's got all that energy still resident in him, although he's got a 30-year career behind him with the Indian government and last 12 years with UNICEF. serving in several parts of the country. His special focus area is the first 1,000 days of a child. And what must we do in these 1,000 days when a child is born, from the womb, in fact, to the 1,000th day? What can be done to address the subject of malnutrition? So he's a man who's of numbers, he's a man of action, and I think you'll see a lot of that coming up today when he's with us and he's speaking with me on the subject and then starts interacting with you. So on that note, let me invite Dr. Subadra, DK, and Zachariah to join me here. We need some more mics here, please. I think one person in the middle can take that mic. And I shouldn't fall down. Okay, so are we good to go? All set? Just as a note, we'll go all the way to 4:15 on that clock. There is a clock there as well. We'll go all the way to 4:15 and we'll keep our conversation engaged with more questions about that 3-minute range on that clock. Okay. I noticed there's one over there as well. Okay, so let me ask my first question to Job. Job, we were talking over lunch. I really would like you to kind of break I think the audience here may think of malnutrition as some vague subject out there. I think it may make a lot of sense from their point of view to start with what are the impacts of malnutrition on economy, on human life, and on the social fabric of a nation like India. Maybe that's a great way to start this.
Thank you, AVIS. We many times consider malnutrition, it's nothing related to us. But I can tell you, youngsters sitting in front of me, malnutrition is one of the biggest enemies of India. We heard Amir Khan saying that. And India loses 6% of its GDP that runs into crores of rupees just because of malnutrition. 6% of GDP is lost because of malnutrition. Not only this economic loss, even as an individual, if you were stunted in your childhood, you will lose 22% of your earning capacity as an adult. 22% you would lose. So it's not an economic loss, it's a human and social loss. 45% of the children, the root cause of the death is malnutrition. We heard, I was speaking about that 3,000 children die in India out of malnutrition. 45% of them died because of malnutrition, which means 1,500 deaths could have been prevented if malnutrition was not there. Major cause for all diseases among children is also malnutrition. So in short, the social, economic, human development of India is malnutrition. Nutrition is the foundation of India. Thank you.
Yeah, I think there's a request to hold the mic closer to, I'm also making the same mistake, so when we are speaking, you may want to hold the mic closer to you. So, Subadra, can I request for your opinion on where does it start? Where do we start? Which part of the spectrum do we start addressing when we look at those kind of numbers that Job just threw up? Where does action start, according to you? Again, you'll have to hold the mic closer to you.
These are the 1,000 days that AVIS mentioned earlier, And I believe that this should be the focus of attention, because we will find that if we find, we have enough research data to show that any growth retardation that is suffered prior to the age of 2 years is irreversible. Now, it cannot be reversed even if we give optimum nutrition to the child. So I believe that if we can attend to the first 1,000 days, then we are going to be on a safe footing, really speaking, and we probably won't have as many problems as we do today.
Okay, so I think what she's saying is that it starts with the family. Would I be right in saying that? It starts with the family. So I just had a related question for Subhadra before I go to DK. When you talk about the family, are there today impediments in getting this understanding within the families, and are we doing enough to overcome these impediments?
Yeah.
Just the mic a little closer.
Yeah.
Are you able to hear at the back? Are you good?
Can,
Yes or no? Last gentleman, check shirt. Somewhat. Okay.
Okay, I'll hold the mic closer.
Is it better now? Is it better now?
Is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, the family is very important because, the action begins in the family. As a matter of fact, I would like to ask how many of you are malnourished? Do you know? Do you have any indication that you are malnourished? Do you measure your BMI anytime? No?
So you measure your BMI, okay? That's more from a physical fitness point of view. So some of you do it. But ma'am's question is, do you know that you could possibly be malnourished? Do you know the parameters and indicators for malnourishment? Okay.
Yeah. So anything less than 18.5 is considered to be malnourishment. And a large percentage of the adolescent girls in this country are malnourished according to this criterion. Yes, coming back to the question of family, yes, family is where the action must begin. Now we progress from family to the community and community to the society. So unless and until we can act at the family level, we are not going to be able to achieve very many great results. So I believe that family is important, and that the action should begin at the family level.
Okay. DK, I'll come to you with, thank you Subhadra for that. DK, question to you. In your experience of 25 years plus on the field, what impediments have you seen at the family level in getting this, getting this message across, creating the awareness, and what do you think can be done? What new approach can be done in order to make this happen better?
But first I have a request for all of you. In your imagination, focus on visualizing the rural, malnourished children and women. Keep that perspective in your imagination. Don't restrict yourself from thinking about only those that you are familiar with. It is important that many millions of our children live in the villages, and we are not in proximity with them, and therefore do not know exactly the impediments that those families may be facing. I am able to say this because I have seen these differences. I have real time seen these differences. India, in communication terms, in the context of communication and behavior change, India is a very multi-language, multicultural, multi-religion, multi-this and multi-that kind of a country. And as I was telling him, there are 56 socio-cultural cluster of people living in this country whose life is influenced by varied kind of cultural, sociological, and other factors that influences their life, impacts their food habits, impact their understanding of their health problems. Okay? So therefore, as I was also saying earlier, that if today, even today, if I ask this 50 odd people, students sitting here, or whatever number sitting here, how do you understand nutrition or malnutrition? I'll probably get about 25, 30 different kind of interpretation of that, in expression of that. So imagine what is the kind of understanding of these 56 different kind of cultural people, sociological people that interprets or understand malnutrition or nutrition itself. So the first impediment is practically no one. I'm talking about the slum people and the marginalized and the deprived people in the country. They don't understand malnutrition. They don't realize, they don't know how to understand that aspect of malnutrition. They understand death. They understand physical deformity. They understand various other kind of things, but they don't understand malnutrition being the cause of all those kind of things. So first of all, impediments is that an indifference, ignorance, and an attitudinal barriers that come in understanding the problem itself. And obviously, for the last 30 years, 40 years, solution to them have come from people like us. That the solution to nutrition or malnutrition is this. You must have this, you must have that, you must not do that, you must not do this. I believe today, and last at least 10 years I know for a fact, practices have started to bring about a change in the way we communicate. And that communication takes place within the community itself, not from our side, not with the flip chart, not with the video, not with the poster, not with this. But how the community understand the problem of malnutrition and how they devise the solution.
Fantastic. So just to summarize, we have 56 different socio-cultural clusters, which is twice the number of states, literally. We know of geographical and political divisions in our country, but he's talking about socio-cultural changes, which means the people living in those communities have their own approaches to life, and they don't see any need, or they don't have access to the kind of education we have on a subject like malnutrition. So any action on the ground in these 56 different social clusters can happen only if the community takes it up as a movement, which means each of us have a different responsibility there, because each of us comes from those 56 different clusters ourselves. We may be living in an urban part of the country, but we do have that responsibility. That's what he's trying to say. Did I sum it up? Yeah? Yeah? Job, I want to go back to you, because I think it's important from what both Subadra and DK had to say. My question is that there is, we all, I'm more like them. I'm like a student sitting here, so please forgive me for asking such a, in Hindi mein bolte hain, behuda sawal, is it such a dumb question? So forgive me for asking, but we often say that India is a country where we have a very successful midday scheme, lunch scheme running in the schools. And so by this time we should have addressed. It started in Tamil Nadu. It started in Tamil Nadu in the pre-independence days, then picked up during Kamaraj and MGR, and then the model has been rolled out. Then we have schemes like Akshay Patra and all of them running across the country. So by this time, a lot of children should have been impacted, right? One. And two, we also say that the root cause of malnutrition is perhaps poverty, right? And unless we alleviate the poverty of our people, we cannot solve the issue of malnutrition. Now, from a UNICEF point of view, having worked very intensively in the space, what are your responses to these two perspectives?
I think, Avis, there are a lot of the myths about malnutrition. One is this myth that the midday meal program in Anganwadis and schools, howsoever good they are, and they should be there, they cannot address malnutrition. But they can address the issue of hunger and food. So therefore, it is not negating them. They have to be there, but they will not be able to address. Why? Because malnutrition happens in your first 2 years. After that one, you cannot correct it. The damage has been done and it is irreversible. IQ reduction of 10 to 15 points, height will be, stunting will happen, all are permanent damages, so that cannot be reversed. So whatever the midday meal schemes or noon meal schemes in Anganwadis and schools will not be able to address that one. Now, second myth is regarding this poverty malnutrition. This is a very strong myth in India. We are poor, food is not there, so there will be malnutrition. What is so great about it? But evidence shows all over the world that the connection between food intake and malnutrition is very weak. Food is of course required, but the major reason for malnutrition is not food. It is the maternal, that means anemia, the anemia among women, the water, safe water, toilet, there should not be diseases, there should be breastfeeding practices, girls' education should be there, child marriage. These are the major causes for malnutrition, not the food intake. Now, if this presumption was correct, then there wouldn't be any malnutrition among rich people. In India, research says there is malnutrition among children even in the rich, the Q4, the highest wealth quintile, there is a malnutrition there as well. There is also malnutrition in countries which is flooded with food. So that argument, that myth, we need to explode that myth, that connection is very, very, very small, minimal. This myth have to be exploded.
Very nice. Thank you. Thank you for demolishing that myth. So let's not buy that argument anymore. Let's not sell that argument anymore, that midday meal scheme is solving malnutrition, or that poor people cannot afford food, therefore they are malnourished. And to help us build on that, on the thought process, I'm going to go to Subadra again and request her to talk a little bit about what is it that, from a nutrition point of view, from a purely nutrition point of view, what are the practices that can help stem malnutrition or completely eradicate it? What practices from a nutrition point of view, from a mother to the child, that aspect of it, in such a manner that some of these people can perhaps be advocates or change agents in their own circles of influence. So what would you advise them to take message? What message? You may need to pass that mic, D.K.
I want to ask a question. How many of the girls here, I presume that you're all in the age group of below 19, okay? Now, how many of the girls here know that they are anemic? Only one hand goes up.
2, 3, 4.
3. So
5. Okay, 5.
now, how do you know it? What is it that helped you to find out that you are anemic? Blood test, okay. Which blood test?
Blood camps.
Okay, hemoglobin. Yeah, if you know hemoglobin, you measure the hemoglobin in the blood and you know that you are anemic or no. And there are different criteria that has been set up by the World Health Organization. We won't go into that just now. Now, maternal anemia is very common in India. You will find that the pregnant women are very anemic. In fact, it is a very serious situation where almost 80% of the women are anemic. And adolescent girls are anemic. And children, preschool children are also anemic. So we find that even Tamil Nadu, I think the anemia prevalence is somewhere around 60% in the preschool children. So one of the major problems is anemia, and anemia can affect the physical performance of children, physical performance of adults, physical performance of women, and anemia can also affect the cognition. So there are many effects of anemia on both children and women, and this is one of the problems that we will need to address through our efforts. And believe me, if you go and do the hemoglobin, all of you here, if you go and get your hemoglobin tested, I won't be surprised if about 40 to 50% of you are anemic. Okay. Anemia by the criterion of less than 12 grams of hemoglobin per deciliter. Okay. Now, so do the test and find out. And there are two ways in which this can be addressed. One is to improve the bioavailability of iron, and the other is to provide supplements of iron to the children and women. Every day, daily supplementation is recommended for women, and the weekly supplementation is recommended for children. Okay, for adolescent girls, I'm sorry. Then the question on...
how do you influence the corrective steps with regard to women health leading to good child health? Okay. What steps do you recommend apart from this to the audience here for them to take away from here?
Yeah, again, I would like to emphasize on the fact that the charity begins at home, you know. So we must start in our own homes and, try and implement many of the changes that we would like to bring about in others. And once the changes have been implemented and the effects have been experienced by people, they can act as change agents. Okay, so we have tried this experiment on adolescent girls in our anemia control program, where we had given supplements to adolescent girls, weekly supplements of iron, and we found that those who experienced the beneficial effects acted as very good change agents. So you all can act as change agents. As a matter of fact, you can take it upon yourself to address the problem of anemia in women and children, and you can do an excellent job, I'm sure, if you really motivate yourself into that situation.
I think there's a very inspirational perspective that Subhadra is bringing. Think of your homes. Now you may think you come from a middle class, upper middle class, affluent background, whatever. And I'm not addressing only the girl students here, I'm addressing the guys as well, the gentlemen as well, and the ladies. We have helpers at home. We have people, a vegetable seller on the street. We have a flower seller on the street. We have an istriwala on the street. If you're living in a hostel, you have somebody coming and making your meals. Now, all these are people who are target audience. From an urban point of view, there are some other thoughts on the on the impact of malnutrition on urban children and women, but we'll talk about it in a little while. But just to pick up Subhadra's point, we can go back and influence these people. And it's not easy, and yet it's not difficult. I remember when the first time Vaani put a soap dispenser in the kitchen several years ago, and insisted that all our domestic help who came to work with us wash their hands every single time they are doing something in the kitchen. It was very difficult to get them to adapt to that practice, because it's not in their concept, it's not in their psyche. அவங்களால அப்படி யோசிக்க கூட முடியாது இது பண்ணணும்னு. So they don't understand the concept. So it will be difficult, but somewhere a change has to begin. We'll come back to it, but that's the point that Subhadra was making. Thank you, Subhadra, for that. A related question goes to DK. DK, you were talking about, actually, so far we've been talking about children, malnutrition, mothers. But you actually talked about stepping a little back on that cycle and stepping a little forward, which is you're thinking of adolescence to adolescence. Can you elaborate a little bit on that and how it can be a game changer?
Again, before that, just a comment on
Please
what you
go
said
ahead.
and what you summarized. If you have noted what she said and how we summarized that, you will. Can you all hear me? Yeah. Okay. You will realize that what they are talking about a change, right? Is that right? Is that right? What they are talking about change? What change is that? It's a behavior change. And the behavior change is the most difficult aspect of any social issue, or removing or addressing any social issue. Keep that in mind, because it is not as easy as that you become a motivator for somebody else to go and talk to them about your perspective on nutrition or malnutrition. So therefore, it is important to understand that you are going to be involved with your own behavior change and then sharing those experiences with others. Now, on the question that he asked is that what is this going beyond a child and the mother and the next stage? I'm saying, and my experience tells me, that behavior change is a very long-term exercise. It doesn't happen overnight, over 3 years, for which project funding comes and things like that. It has to be a protracted, over time practice that has to come. Now, who should therefore be, whose behavior therefore be, we should be addressing? What do you think? Whose behavior we should be addressing? Come on. She said it, so you must have heard her. Whose behavior are we going to be addressing? Change in whose behavior? Can somebody just raise your hand and... Sorry? Mother.
Mother.
He says mother. Anybody else? Our own behavior, whether male or female. Is that right? Okay. Anybody else? Whose behavior should change first, or we should be attempting to change? Huh? Family. And what comprises a family? Huh? A grandparent, the parents, and the children. That normally is the concept of family. Now what happens is that he talked about the first 2 years. India is more of a curative nation. We access things to get cured. We are not a preventive nation. We don't believe in prevention. We believe prevention is a waste of time, waste of money, waste of resources. We only go to the doctors, or we only take attention when our body, mind is damaged in some manner, and you go for curative. I'm saying get into a preventive mode of behavior change. And that is toughened by the fact, he says mother, he says women, he says family. The behavior is further becomes a problematic because of the gender discrimination that exists in our society. By nature, by male domination, patriarchal society, we do not take care of our women. And the moment we neglect that part, our children are bound to be unhealthy, because our mothers are going to be unhealthy, because our adolescents are going to be unhealthy. So I am saying It is 1,000 is a bullseye, or 1,000 days or 2 years is the essence of it. But I'm saying the whole wide range of adolescent to adolescent girls needs to be taken care of. And in 25 years, I can give it in writing. Today I may not be alive, but I can give it in writing that behaviors will change, that India will be a healthy nation.
Beautiful, beautiful. Summary, once again, he's saying address the core of the problem. An adolescent girl today in your neighborhood, okay, who's deprived and is anemic. When I say deprived, I mean economically deprived and anemic, and requires attention. If you can adopt that person, she will grow to be a well-nourished mother who will deliver a well-nourished child, who, because this girl has had the privilege of delivering a well-nourished child, will give the requisite attention to raise a well-nourished child, and that girl child will go on to be another well-nourished adolescent, and this entire process could take 25 years for one family, but at the end of 25 years, you have reversed the cycle of malnutrition. You've actually pushed it back, and you've said now they will move forward with the same impact, with the same empathy. Subhadra made the same point. People who have been malnourished, who have delivered children who are malnourished, who have had stunted growth, they are greater advocates in her experience because they know the pain of being that way, right? Job said it's not poverty, it's not food, it's the 1,000-day cycle. And what DK is recommending is we move it a little ahead of the 1,000-day cycle by about 4 or 5 years and catch them young at 14, 15, 16 when they are still open to change and when they can still be supported. And people like you, people like me are the ones that can support. That was DK's point. Adolescence to adolescence is his theme, and I think it's a fantastic idea. And if even one of you take it forward, you would have made the change in one life somewhere. I'll go to Job again. Job, this is not a political question, but this is more a question in terms of the kind of muscle power we need for enormous social change. Okay, so I'm a great fan of the Swachh Bharat campaign. Okay, and though not necessarily of Modi, and that's not the point of debate here. I believe that if that kind of muscle power in terms of intention, we're struggling a lot because it's a new campaign and it's yet to be rolled out and implemented. But something like malnutrition, UNICEF's role in child rights in India have been there for much longer, many decades in fact. So if we invite government to put in that kind of intentional muscle behind something like this, do you think the results will be far more drastic? And what's your experience in this area from being part of UNICEF?
Yeah, true. I think not only government, I think nutrition is a subject of everyone. The government alone cannot do it. We have heard that how we can address malnutrition by behavioral change. There are certain small, simple behaviors if we adopt in our own families by individual and individual, a lot of malnutrition could have been prevented. We know that the initiating breastfeeding within 1 hour could have prevented a lot of malnutrition. In Tamil Nadu, for example, 100% of the deliveries are happening in hospitals. So it is only just common sense that 100% of the children should be breastfed with mother's milk within 1 hour. Simple, small thing which has to be done only once in lifetime. And that would have prevented many deaths and malnutrition. But only 50%. Exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months. This is happening in the family. No government can intervene in that one. That child should be given only mother's milk. No food should be given. Not even a spoon of water. Simple thing. There's no role for government to do that one. And it is so simple. So he said then everybody should be practicing. Again in Tamil Nadu, I mean in all over India as well, only 50% practice it. These two simple things, if the people practice in their homes, the Lancet, the study says that 13% of the child death can be prevented. And that many number of, I mean about 20% of the malnutrition can be prevented. Yes, government can provide give an enabling environment, just like in Swachh Bharat we have seen. But lot of action is at the community level by ourselves. We have a tendency in India, put everything on the government. There are certain, this issue, malnutrition is everybody's issue. And only with everybody's support this can be done. And much money is not required in this one.
I'm agreeing with you. My question is, why does the number drop if 100% are going into hospitals for deliveries? Why is the number dropping to 50%? Any studies in that area?
Yeah, we know one of the major reasons. And in states like Tamil Nadu and Kerala, it's all happening in private hospital. Recently, the number of cesarean section is increasing. There are states where it has now become 68%. The percentage of cesarean should be only 10 to 15%. In Tamil Nadu, it is about 40 to 50%. Now, what happens during cesarean section? The mother is sent to a step-down unit. So somebody has to go to that one step-down unit and put the baby on the breast. And baby can crawl and breastfeed on its own. It will almost swim and find the breast, but that is not being done. I mean, obviously. I mean, if it was done, then we would have survey after survey showing us only 50%. But you can do it. Because when your relatives, somebody is going to hospital, you should demand this one, that doctor, please see that the child is breastfed within 1 hour. If you cannot do it, then we will ensure that it will be done. That type of pressure we need to keep on the hospitals. So therefore, why we are telling all this thing to you, because UNICEF believes that youth are powerful social change agents. We are germinating a seed in your brain here. It will germinate. When you are talking, when you are seeing people, you say, it has got powerful say. It has a powerful thought on the people. So therefore, the issue is this one. That knowledge that nobody demands that my child have to be breastfed. And this has to be done only once in lifetime. And the Ghana study says that 22% of the neonatal mortality can be prevented, reduced just by giving mother's milk within 1 hour. It is just like, it is more, more precious and effective than Amrit or whatever, Mannat, whatever the biblical, there is another food just like Amrit, which is very special. It's much more special than that one. Nobody has found a...
Can I just say one thing?
Please.
In UP, Bihar, Rajasthan and MP, the first milk, breast milk, is considered dirty. Is considered because its color is yellowish and it's considered dirty. And there is a strong barrier for that women who has just delivered a baby to allow the baby to take the milk from the breastfeed. So these are barriers that exist.
But that barriers are now, it is in the hands of hospital. Earlier the deliveries were at a home and some nani, dadi, didi, many people were deciding. Now that role has gone from nani.
Now it's more an operational issue.
Now it has gone to doctors and the nurses. This decision is done by them.
Right.
So in one extent, now the institutional delivery in India has gone up to 75 to 80. So no more that yellow thing, I mean, even only remaining 20% you can do on this yellow business.
Right.
Thinking this is dirty.
Right.
80% in the hospital, so the initial breastfeeding in India should be 80%, whereas it is only just 35-40%.
Good, thank you. So I'm going to come to you in 5 minutes for your questions, and then you get the opportunity for the man in the black jacket, selfie and tweet. Okay, so are you all ready? I have one last question here before I come here. Yeah, can I just finish with Subhadra? Then you can ask the point and then we can go into the Q&A. Subhadra ma'am, I want to ask you, I think there was some brief mention of this, that gender inequality contributes a lot to the way a woman is treated, and so the way she is nourished, and therefore the way she delivers her child. And the child's malnourishment journey starts from there. What has your experience been in this space of seeing gender inequality, and what kind of an impact has it had? Is it getting better? Are we treating our women any better than before? That's the question. You may need to take this mic.
See, anecdotal evidence seem to indicate that the gender inequality does exist. Okay, because we hear of a large number of instances of how girls are treated differently from boys. But quantitative data is not coming up with this kind of a difference, and we've done quite a number of studies. But how do we kind of marry these two findings, the quantitative data versus the anecdotal evidence, qualitative kind of an evidence that comes up from people's experiences? Because how many of you feel that you are treated differently? If you're a girl, you are treated differently from a boy. Please raise your hands. Oh, many hands going up. Okay.
I'm very sorry from all the men. I'm very sorry from all the men. This is very, very shocking that it's happening in an urban setting, in a college of this kind. It's so shocking. I mean, it's an eye-opener to me. Sorry, ma'am. Please continue.
Okay. Now, tell me, what are the ways in which you are treated differently? Can you give some examples of, yeah? Big difference, yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Good point.
Good. Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah. Many reasons. One of the many reasons over which the girls are discriminated. You know. Yeah. No, when I was a young girl, we were not allowed to learn bicycling. You know, we were told very specifically that you, as a girl, cannot cycle. So, you know, there are different ways of bringing in this gender discrimination. But the thing is, the quantitative data in relation to food intake, it is about the food intake. There is not much of a difference between the boys and the girls. But I think as far as social customs are concerned, there are a lot of differences that continue to discriminate against women. And one of the very important issues is the women entering the temples, for instance. Recently, it has been out in the newspapers, and you know, so that.
But I thought, DK, I'll come to you, sir. On the same point of gender equality and food intake, you had some interesting observations, anecdotal, right? You were sharing with us.
But my experience on the northern states.
No problem, but you can still share with them, because
Plus
he's
Tamil
talking
Nadu.
about anecdotal evidence. This is not quantitative, it's anecdotal, and it's quite shocking. You may like to hear it.
Plus Tamil Nadu in some manner. Food. And my experience is primarily non-urban. My experience is primarily in the tribal, in the traditional farming community, not the landowner, but more to do with land laborers and that kind of a thing, or wage earners, that kind of a thing, where food is always in short supply. Food is always in not.
Yeah, I think just take it away. Thank you. Yeah.
Not ample food available and things like that. And also importantly, I'm not looking at in a situation of only food. I'm also looking at education and food, girls' education and food seeing gender discrimination from these two perspectives, education and food. I was telling him that if there are 2 chapatis or 3 chapatis available, a major share will go to the husband and to the son. And inevitable. I have seen it with my own eyes, and it has happened in that sense. In my own households, 50 years back, 40 years back, the men folk would eat first, and the women folk and the girls would eat
what was
later.
left? Normally, what was left?
And depending on whatever is left over. The boys will not be told, the husband will not be told that there are only one more chapatis for you. But the girl can be told that here is 1 chapati, you take half, I will take half, by the mother. I don't believe that this is the same situation exists in urban household. But I do firmly believe that in urban slums, this exists. I've seen it in Dharavi. I've seen it under the flyover of Bombay. That is the reason why our women are malnourished, I'm telling you. And women malnourished means nation is malnourished.
Thank you, DK. That's a very powerful statement. Job, you wanted to interact with them.
No, I want to add a point to the equity, because when we are talking about equity, we normally only talk about the gender inequity, boys and girls. But it is when UNICEF use the word, this equity, we use it in a much wider term. With respect to malnutrition, if you consider, there is inequity between rural and urban. If you analyze the statistics, there is inequity between districts, backward districts and forward districts. For example, in Krishnagiri, Dharmagiri, Salem, the malnutrition rates. Then there is also equity between the social groups. The same indicator between the general group and SC, ST, OBC. There is a difference. So then imagine a girl in Krishnagiri from Tali block, from scheduled caste, or scheduled tribe, and so all types of inequities have been there. Social, gender, then the region, then the urban. Then you will see, and you consider the opposite. A boy, urban, in Chennai, upper caste, you consider the difference. The distance is huge. That's what we call as inequity. That inequity is unacceptable in India.
Beautifully explained by you that inequity can go only one person at a time. I don't think a constitution can come in here. I don't think a rule can come in here. It has to begin with us, and we have to demolish those layers of inequities. Layer by layer, we'll have to peel them off. So thank you. Are you all ready? Who's asking us the first question? You can ask any of the panelists a question. I'm told that people at Loyola ask the most intelligent questions. WCC is also here? Okay. Okay. So, okay.
So whoever you are.
Whoever you are. Let me rephrase my line. People sitting in Loyola ask the most intelligent questions. So that kind of covers everybody.
I want to give an award for the most serious question.
So there is one more award. See, apart from my selfie, there is a D.K.Bose special award for the most serious question, the most impactful question.
Silly question.
Silly, is it?
Yes.
Oh, you want to award the silliest question? Okay, fine. I heard it as serious.
No.
Sorry.
Also,
I can initiate, on that topic they can ask questions. I want to put you a question anyway, since you are not asking question. Do you think that a Tamil boy can become, all Tamil boy can become 6 feet? 6 feet height. I am 6 feet 2 inch. Huh? Now you can start the Is it possible? Yes. Huh? Yes. Yes. Why? Tell me.
There are various factors which affect how a person grows. Basically, like their gender, and it can be based on their, their gene also. So when a person, like, if they are given the right kind of nutrition at the right time, like that's what we've been talking about for this past 1 hour. If they are given the right nutrition at the right time,
very good.
Everybody can grow. Even women, for that matter.
Yeah, no. Instead of 6 feet, it will be 5 feet 5 inch or 6 or 7 inch for women. I just took an example.
Sorry to interrupt, sir. I recently read a study which said women where, the past 20 years, they have grown up. First, initially we used to be just 4'9" or 5 feet, but now we women are also growing up. Like we've become 5'5", the average I'm talking about. The same thing is happening with men as well.
So then why the question is, to you, that why are you sitting here? Why are you not 6 feet or 5 feet 7 inch? I'm talking about majority.
Most of the men and women, if you can walk around here in the campus and see, most of them are tall nowadays. You can see, that's already happening. Only when you
Okay.
give the right nutrition,
Yeah, but before you ask the question, one second. One second. Hold the mic. Hold the mic with you. What's your name? Lakshmi. Thank you so much for actively participating. And the lady in the front with the glasses, what's your name? Pooja. Thank you, Pooja. I think both of you have been very interactive. Yes?
My name is Karti. I'm from Douglas. What she told, like, all women can grow, but this I cannot accept. Like, what I feel from a middle class or higher middle class family, we eat food, like we are nourished, what I feel. But like, it depends on the gene. Like, if my father is not that much tall, we cannot grow. Right? So at the point of view, height is related to nutrition, but not from the all aspect. Height is related to the nutrition. Like it also depends on gene. That's what I wanted to tell. I would agree with you.
My son is 6 feet 1 inch, and I am 5 feet 5 inch. my wife is 5 feet. My daughter is 5.5 feet 3 inches.
We'll answer that one.
My granddaughter is going to be 5 feet 8 inches.
So maybe
I also want
No, I'm just giving you a fact of life.
I want to mention
No, I think the point.
Region to region. I'm not Kambali, I'm a Bengali. So maybe it depends on the region to region.
So is he. So is he.
So that's what that was like nutrition is related to the height.
Sugata, you're 6 feet?
But it is a fact what he said, yeah.
I will answer to that one,
Yes.
because
Please,
this myth is a wrong myth.
Exactly.
And now the recent research says that there are 200 genes which decides your height. And the impact it can have is only 10%. Now another example, probably you will not be able to, if you have got young children of 1 to 5 years, there is something called, a pediatrician has got a growth standard.
Yes.
That how much height that child should have, how much weight that child should have, there is a table. Now this table, there is no separate, if you are right, since in Tamilians or Bengali, we will be shorter or less weight, there should be a separate table for us, isn't it? That's not there. The table which is used for height and weight up to 5 years, I have not carried, I have got in that table. Whether it is in USA, because this is a point, whether or Africa or India, they did a 7 years of research and found that if this nutrition was proper, they should have that much height. Now there is I think you were referring to that study of the Imperial College study, which said that the difference between countries which is having highest height, that is in the Nordic countries, the Scandinavian countries, their average height of a man is about 182 centimeter. It says all other countries also average height can be about 180 centimeter. So this concept that, and there is another research. In America, a lot of people, Bengalis and Gujaratis and Indians have gone into America. Tamilians also, many people have gone. Second generation children of all these people, all these Bengalis you are saying, we are Bengalis, so we will be only 5 feet. Though they are all gained height. There is a lot of research saying that average height of that group in India versus that group in America, same Bengali, both are Bengalis, is so much different. So there are enough evidence. This thinking what you are saying is a little old, because new evidence is coming saying that genes, your racial, the genetic things is only very small portion. That's why he said, even in Tamil Nadu and Kerala, I can now see people who are only average height, their children are all very tall, because the nutrition facilities have improved. Therefore, it is increasing. So there are enough evidence. I can share with more evidence. And simplest evidence is the growth standards followed by the pediatricians. You just go to the pediatrician, there is no separate standard for America and India. That's what I'm saying. Again,
I think
reiterating, what I'm saying is based on research. It says gene plays, contrary to the earlier studies, which was done about 23 years back, contrary to the one, because research also changes. So says, and this imperial study which I am quoting is a study done for 100 years. For last 100 years, this was measured for last 100 years, and then shows that the evidence is coming, more evidences are coming. If you can do a search for Imperial College Bandam study or WHO growth standard study, then you will know this. Even medical doctors were objecting when WHO growth standards came out. Many experts were coming and objecting the way you were saying, But the new research negates this concept that gene and racial has got has got a small role, but not substantial role.
So I think the larger point here is, I think what Job was trying to communicate with that question on height is making us reflect on the possibilities that exist if we focus on nutrition as a responsibility that we all have, not just towards our own lives and our immediate families, but those in our circle of influence. And that's the point he was trying to make, and he has a great deal of research in that area, study that he has done, understood. So those of you interested on this, please talk to him offline. He's a wonderful person to talk to, a very, very knowledgeable man. And I think if there are no more questions, see, I'm one who is very democratic. At the same time, I'm also timing this whole event. You can still get your selfies with me, but I'm rather surprised that you didn't have too many questions. So do you have a question now? I can allow only one question because we are running out of time. So yeah, I will allow you because you are the Can we just engage with us for a little more time, please? I have a very exciting offer to reveal at the end of this. Okay, yeah. No, what she's saying is she has a deep interest in the subject. She has got an NGO. She's a writer for Deccan Chronicle. How can she engage with a larger spectrum of people connected in the field? Right? Can we take this question offline? Maybe you can guide her individually.
I can guide you individually. You could come back to me with that same question. But I would like to say that for the time being, keep yourself away from this, problem of anemia, and take those girls who show an improvement in hemoglobin. Use them as change agents. Okay, you can do that. Can you do that? Yeah, you can. So you can do that, and your problem seems to be particularly not responding to iron supplements, and therefore we will look at it from a different perspective. Okay, you will come back to me.
See, there's a learning here for all of you. She grasped the point very quickly, and that's what subject matter expertise can do to you. Okay? What's your name? Revati. Thank you, Revati. Very good question. And thank you for setting up that NGO and working in the direction of more awareness for a field. It touches my heart to know that you write a blog, that you do so much work in that space. Very, very impressive. You had a point to make, ma'am?
I just want to ask one question to all of you. Is there anyone who, after this talk and discussion, would like to engage with the other people in and around you? Will you make that decision? Yeah. Oh, there are quite a few.
Already have.
Oh, okay. So that's very encouraging. That's very encouraging.
That's very encouraging. In fact, when we sat down, this is the first time the panel was meeting. So when we sat down at lunch, we asked ourselves, what is the purpose of this series of equity talks? What's the purpose of this panel discussion? And we commonly, collectively agreed that if some of you can go back from here with an inspiration to go and do something in your circle of influence, then we would have achieved that purpose, and I think it's very gratifying to see so many hands go up. Can we? No, we are running out of time.
Can I just take one question?
Yeah, one last question. Yeah, please. Yeah, the rest of it I think we can take it offline. But which is the last question? Okay, I think that was answered up front.
No, but I can add to it. Most of the height is decided in the first 1,000 days. And if the stunting has happened, so that's why therefore it is called the first window of opportunity. That window, then it closes after first 1,000 days. Again it opens during the adolescent. Therefore UNICEF says adolescent is a period of second opportunity. So there are certain things, if there are nutritious food, and there are certain things if happens during adolescent, because adolescent is a time which the height can gain. But if stunting has happened, even some of the damage are irreversible, but then further damage during that second window can be prevented if we are having healthy food, nutritious food, anemia is not there, child marriage is not happening, all those are not happening, then there is a possibility of height during that adolescent period.
I'm really running out of time, but if you want to make a last point.
You said that one suggestion from... Yeah. I have just one suggestion as we finish or close up this discussion. How many students are there in this hostel? That is
Different.
I mean, how many
different hostels there.
Student community in this WCC and Loyola and others, how many are there? Student community wise?
Totally, how many students are there in each of your colleges? That's his question.
500, 600 people, right? There is a small, and most of you also belong to families, the families who live outside college. Those families have household helps, people who come and work at your home. Start working with their children. Start working with their children. I came to realize this very late in my life. So I look after, in some manner, the education of the children. But as I said, start looking after your peer group among yourselves. You become the advocate of corrective measures, preventive measures among your own peer group, and also become a corrective measure, preventive measure among the household helps. How many of you have visited your household helps place of residence? Right? So you know the condition in which they live. You know the children's condition. You can start participating in a very small way. In very small way. Right? Do that, you will grow up encouraged by the results that you will see and do better. Thank you.
Thank you, DK. Thank you so much. I'm inspired to share what I've learned from Ratan Tata. I don't know why this mic is not working. Okay, so I don't think I need a mic. Ratan Tata, everybody knows Ratan Tata? Ratan Tata is a leader that I personally admire. And I remember hearing him once where he said, something like this, may not be the exact words, but what he said was, when you look around you, so the first thing he says is look around you. We live in a world where we are so obsessed with the smartphones that we use. And I'm not talking only about your generation, I'm talking about my generation as well. I think if we get out of this room, everyone will be cued in back on their smartphones. So if you look up from your smartphones and look around you, you will see so many people who are deprived. You will see poverty. You will see malnutrition. When you see that and consider how blessed you are, how abundant your life is, how privileged you are, then he says, this is Ratan Tata's line, that it is only the most insensitive and the most cold person who can walk away without taking action. So my invitation to you, and I didn't find any of you today cold or insensitive. In fact, it's a small audience, but it's a very warm audience. And I want to thank all of you for being here. And so don't walk away cold. Ask yourself how you can engage. Keep tweeting to me, keep tweeting to Chill Sulata, keep tweeting to UNICEF India, and engage with us. If you liked today's conversation, if you learned something from it, if you are taking away a perspective that you didn't hold, then the next time this invitation comes around, tell more people about it in your circle of influence so they can attend. Age no bar, gender no bar, class no bar. I mean, class means academic class. Okay? No bar, and there is no bar. So unfortunately, okay. So we'll have to make do in EBD talks with just the warmth of the people over here. So thank you so much for being here. I want to thank Madam Fatima Vasant for participating in this talk and being with us. And of course, for the Loyola administration for giving us the opportunity to kick off this beautiful series over here. On behalf of UNICEF, I request Job to give away a small memento to our guests and panelists today. So Job, DK, thank you for being here and being an inspiration. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Subadra, thank you again. Wonderful. Wonderful. I think